two poems I'd like to gesture towards next. We've got the tradition, the title poem, and another poem that kind of comes near the beginning of the book, 4 Day in the Morning. Both of these poems draw on gardening imagery to think about the politics of tending the land as an African American. We leave things green, you write of black men and women. Could you expand on this line in light of ongoing discussions about race, nature, nurturing? And you know, when I list that, I think of an anthology that came out about 10 years before yours, Camille Dungy's Black Nature, 4 Centuries of African American Nature Poetry. Do you see yourself as entering into that dialogue, as participating in that dialogue, and how would you characterize your contributions?
I thought that the tradition was I think that book is, I mean, there are those two poems, but I think the book is a pastoral. And that's what I was trying to write. You know, I mean, ultimately, I'm black, so I mean to write poems about trees because poets do, and I think trees are dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean to write poems about flowers and birds because poets do. I mean to write poems about nature, flora and fauna. Like, I mean to do that. I mean to make use of that. And I don't think that's special. I think poets do that. I just think that if you're black and at all aware of history, when you're writing about a tree, you don't just see the tree. You also see, I mean, you know that your ancestors have hung from trees, have been lynched, you know? So it comes up. It's not gonna not come up. Just because I start with a tree doesn't mean the lynching is not gonna come up. Just because I start with the lynching doesn't mean the tree's not gonna come up. So, I don't know, maybe I don't know I mean, there are poems that don't have nature in them per se, but I don't know who's not, right? I don't, like this whole thing about this, like, I mean, I'm not trying to be like glib, but you know, where isn't the echo poem? Like, I don't know where, do you know, I just don't know where it is not. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess the Futurists or something. I mean, I'm from the South, and because I'm from the South, my education, I later found out, there was a bend toward the agrarians. Like, I know more about certain poets than I do about others, just because of where I was educated. And I'm, you know, I grew up in the United States. I grew up in the South. I grew up in Louisiana. Because my ancestors were imported here as if they were goods in order to pick cotton. And I think, Kylan, it's just you asking me this question. I'm having so many conversations with people, black people in particular, and many queer people, many trans people who are my friends, many people who are performers. I've had a lot of conversations with people who are trying to figure out where to go because they don't imagine that they should stay here. And I think this is very serious. I mean, maybe you're having these conversations too, I don't know, or maybe you're overhearing these conversations. People are trying to figure out like how much of an exit strategy should be in place. Is it too late? Is there a point where you won't be allowed to leave? Do you know what I mean? And I am very frustrated by that conversation because I think one of the things that my poems, whether I tried to make them about this or not, but just seeing my own poems in the world and reading them or understanding what people think when they think about them. My poems seem to say over and over again that this is my shit. It's mine. Just as much, if not more than anybody else's, because of the way I had to come to it. It is my inheritance. Do you know what I mean? It's my fucking country. Do you know, it's mine. Do you know what I'm saying? And that starts at the level of the land. That is literal. It's mine. It is my family's, and I don't even mean that I do mean that, like it's black people's just as much as it's white people. Yeah, sure. But I mean, it's my family's. Do you know what I'm saying? To do with what we want. And ultimately, all my family ever did was, plant the food they, grow the food they ate. You know what I mean? And have a yard my dad would call Purdy. I remember we would do the yard when I was a kid. That's how my dad, this is what my dad literally did for a living, was landscaping, mowing lawn. Like I grew up doing this kind of work. And we would drive away from yards that we were doing, or we would have to, because of the route, pass by yards. And I remember sometimes we would get back to our house. Like as the sun, I'll never forget the memory of this. You get up on a Saturday and you do your own yard. And then you do whatever you're doing. And if you're coming back home with your Saturday, right? If you're coming back home and the sun's going down and you're looking at your lawn and it's cut, you got a nice little edge against the driveway. You know what I'm saying? And we would drive back, and passing our house to go into the driveway, my dad would say, "Woo, that's Purdy." He would be talking about what he did. He would be talking about what I had done that morning. Do you know what I'm saying? That's mine. So why is that in my poems? Because it's who I am. And that's all a poem should be.